NASA's Perseverance rover is humanity's latest and greatest effort in the mission to discover signs of life on Mars. While many rovers before the Perseverance have scoured various areas of the red planet looking for life, none have had the incredible tools at hand to help them in the search that the new rover does. Perhaps the greatest of these tools is the Ingenuity helicopter, which became the first object to take flight in the Martian sky. Let's take a look at how this tiny helicopter may help us discover life on Mars. Ingenuity is a very small helicopter, weighing in at just under 4 pounds, though it weighs just 1.5 pounds on Mars. The craft stands at just 19 inches tall. It is powered by a small solar panel mounted above its rotor blades. When it was initially deployed by the Perseverance, Ingenuity relied on a battery charged by the rover to stay warm through the first Martian night. Ingenuity was designed as a technology demonstration, and while the craft does not carry any scientific equipment on board, it still has a few key pieces of tech and a few notable capabilities that will allow it to do its job on Mars. The solar panel on the helicopter charges lithium-ion batteries and can provide enough energy for one 90-second flight per Martian day, or an average of 350 watts of average power during each flight, according to NASA. Despite this limitation, the craft has flown up to 117 seconds during a flight, a feat which it managed to accomplish on its fourth flight. The craft also has a listed flight altitude of 15 feet, but has flown to a whopping 33 feet on its fifth flight. Ingenuity has two blades that spin in opposite directions at about 2,400 RPM. The only instruments on board the helicopter that does not directly allow it to fly are its two cameras. It has a wide-angle, 0.3 megapixel navigation camera, and additionally, a 12 megapixel color camera. While the craft had some added photo help from Perseverance during its first few flights, after its fifth flight took it to a new airfield and began a new phase in its mission, the helicopter was on its own to take images. The helicopter was never supposed to last this long. NASA engineers built and tested the first self-powered aircraft to fly on another planet to answer a simple question: could the helicopter fly at all? The goal was to take 5 flights in 30 Martian days or break the aircraft trying. But more than 120 Martian days past that experiment window, Ingenuity is still flying and doing things no one ever expected. The helicopter, which took its first flight on April 19th, is breaking its own records for distance and speed. It's helping the Perseverance rover explore Jezero Crater, near an ancient river delta that may hold signs of past Martian life. Ingenuity is coping with changing seasons and navigating over rough terrain, two things that the Flyer wasn't designed to do. The helicopter is flying farther, faster, and higher than it did in its first few flights. The helicopter has lifted itself a maximum of 12 meters above the Martian surface, zipped along at up to 5 meters per second, and covered 625 meters in a single flight. These extremes give engineers valuable information about the limits of flying on Mars. Early on, Ingenuity tested its limits in a way that the flight team didn't plan for. During its sixth flight, the helicopter's navigation system suffered a glitch that made it roll and sway alarmingly. Luckily, the helicopter touched down safely within 5 meters of its intended landing spot. Originally, the helicopter team wanted to push the vehicle until it broke, but now the researchers are flying more cautiously and less often. That's because the helicopter is currently supporting the Perseverance rover and doing science. The helicopter has already proven its worth by telling the rover where not to go. Ingenuity's ninth flight took the helicopter over a dune field called South Seta, which would have been difficult for the rover to drive through safely. Then Ingenuity photographed some rock outcrops and raised ridges in South Seta that had looked interesting in images taken from an orbiting spacecraft. Scientists thought those ridges could record some of the deepest water environments in the lake that filled the crater long ago. By flying over the Saturn region, Ingenuity was able to complete a task in less than 3 minutes that would have taken months for Perseverance to accomplish. And that innovation is at the heart of the Ingenuity mission, which is also about demonstrating that powered vehicles can fly on Mars. That type of technology is invaluable to robotic missions and represents a new era of exploration. NASA has a successful history of landing rovers on Mars, which started with the Mars Pathfinder mission in the 1990s. That mission, with its Sojourner rover, proved that wheeled vehicles could explore the Martian surface and act as our eyes and ears on the red planet. Humans have explored Mars for decades now, with the help of these mobile scientists. But Ingenuity is something new, proving that scientists can send aerial vehicles to help scout new and intriguing targets, as well as traverse places a rover could not. The air on Mars is notoriously thin and has been getting even thinner over time. As that part of Mars shifts from spring to summer, the air density has gone from about 1.5% of Earth's at sea level to about 1%. That doesn't sound like a big difference, but it's enough that Ingenuity has had to spin its rotor blades faster to stay aloft. At that faster spin speed, the helicopter can fly for only 130 seconds at a time instead of the 170 seconds it managed before, without running the risk of the motors overheating. Even with these limitations, the helicopter has proven to be a valuable asset to scientists as it has helped make some incredible observations on the red planet. Perhaps the most interesting discovery the helicopter has made so far is of the mysterious spacecraft wreckage it found on the Martian surface. What seemed like various foreign objects scattered on a crash site from a distance turned out to be components from the same craft that helped the helicopter land safely on Mars. Upon closer look, the helicopter found that it had discovered the crashed remains of both the parachutes that assisted the Perseverance rover land on the red planet. Among the wreckage was also the cone-shaped back shell that protected the rover in deep space and during its fiery descent towards the Martian surface. Entry, descent, and landing on Mars are fast-paced and stressful, not only for the engineers back on Earth, but also for the vehicle enduring the gravitational forces, high temperatures, and other extremes that come with entering Mars' atmosphere at nearly 12,500 miles per hour. The parachute and back shell were previously imaged from a distance by the Perseverance rover, but those collected by the rotorcraft provide more detail. The images have the potential to help ensure safer landings for future spacecraft, such as the Mars Sample Return Lander, which is part of the multi-mission campaign that would bring Perseverance's samples of Martian rocks, atmosphere, and sediment back to Earth for detailed analysis. Perseverance had the best documented Mars landing in history, with cameras showing everything from parachute inflation to touchdown. But Ingenuity's images offer a different vantage point. In the images of the upright back shell and the debris field that resulted from it impacting the surface at about 78 miles per hour, the back shell's protective coating appears to have remained intact during atmospheric entry. Many of the 80 high-strength suspension lines connecting the back shell to the parachute are visible and also appear intact. Spread out and covered in dust, only about a third of the orange and white parachute, at 70.5 feet wide, it was the biggest ever deployed on Mars, can be seen, but the canopy shows no signs of damage from the supersonic airflow during inflation. Several weeks of analysis will be needed for a more final verdict. Even with the mission extension, Ingenuity's tasks on the red planet remain fairly simple: fly, snap photos, land, survive. However, there are a lot of future applications for the craft. For instance, a vehicle like Ingenuity can be used to fly pretty far ahead quickly and go places that would be otherwise inaccessible, such as Martian mountains and ravines. These capabilities could assist future robotic missions with scouting and imaging terrain, which is challenging to navigate. Engineers are already dreaming of the next Martian aircraft. Current blueprints include a scaled-up version of Ingenuity that could carry more equipment and work alone or with a rover, and a large hexacopter with 6 rotors arranged around a central ring. A craft like that could cover more ground more quickly than a rover, traveling distances that could take Perseverance multiple years in just a few months. If you enjoyed the video, please check out this one on the discovery of water on Mars by the Perseverance rover. Do you think the Ingenuity can last another year on the harsh Martian surface? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below.